everyone, and welcome back on the channel. My name is Alex. Welcome back in the pain cave. Today we are doing a first impression review of the Adidas Adios 6. This is a shoe that I described because it was still only a rumor. It was back in April, end of April, and here it is. It's the first one of this very nice Tokyo colorway that released. We should have the Boston 10, the Adidas Adios Pro 2 and the Prime X that will follow in June, I guess. So this is the first one of this series of new, revisited Adizero lineup from Adidas. Very exciting because there are lots of changes on this shoe compared to the previous iteration of the Adios lineup. So you may want to stay tuned for that, because there are definitely lots of things to say about this shoe. First of all, the specs and the weight. This shoe came at 260 grams in my size, US 11, EU 45 and 1/3, because Adidas goes by thirds in their EU sizes. Quite funny. So very surprising, but not so light for a shoe like the Adios. And 260 is more than the Mach 4, more than the Hyperion Tempo, way more than the Rebel V2. So not so light for a shoe of this genre. Now in terms of stack height, we're looking at 27 in the heel, 19 in the forefoot, 8 millimeters drop. I would say that it feels a bit higher than 27-19, maybe something like 30-22, something like that. So here again, that's only sensations, and the numbers are what they are, provided by Adidas, 27-19, but I felt a bit higher. Durometer scores, very interesting for the midsole. We're looking at a dual foam type of midsole with some Lightstrike here in the heel, going all the way to the front at the bottom, and then starting midfoot you have some Lightstrike Pro, which is a different foam on top of the regular normal type of Lightstrike compound. So two different foams, two different types of materials, of compounds. For the EVA Lightstrike, we're looking at something like 36 on the durometer scale, which is rather on the softer side of EVA foams. And for the PIBA-based Lightstrike Pro, we're looking at 28, which here again is more on the softer side, or at least average in terms of durometer scores for the PIBA type of compounds across the different shoes that I've tested. Now for the durometer, also quite interesting, I measured the Continental outsole and the torsion system, the plastic, Y-shaped torsion system. For the Continental outsole, I had the highest ever, so the hardest score in terms of durometer for the outsole. And I mean, you can feel it. It's very hard to tell the differences between two very hard outsoles, but this one is, I would say, harder than other outsoles I measured, and it's ranking in that 75, I think, numbers on the durometer scale, which is the highest outsole I measured. And funny, this is not very relevant, but I measured the torsion system. It's a plastic, very rigid plate, you can hear it, and it ranked at 85. Just keep in mind that the scale goes from 0 to 100, 0 being like super soft and 100 being super hard. So these are the two extremes, and 85 for the plastic rigid torsion system, which we will come back to in a moment. For the upper, we're looking at a monomesh single layer, very thin upper. I think that's where maybe the durability may see some issues, because it's really thin, and although it's reinforced here with those suede type of overlays. Now we're going into summer and it's fantastically breathable. This morning during my second run with the shoe, it was already quite hot, and I could feel the shoe is very breathable and will be very breathable with even thinner socks. That's for the mesh. The tongue is quite interestingly padded on the sides of it. I'm going to show it to you here in a second. There you go, you see the padding of the tongue. So the padding is supposed to go right underneath the eyelet chains. which it doesn't quite do. It's you know, when you put your foot inside, it goes a bit like this, and then the eyelid chains are falling a bit on the side of the two padding bolsters, whatever you call them, of the tongue, which is not an issue. The tongue is actually quite nice, and it's not the nicest of this year, but it's one of the cool one I've seen. You know, just for maybe the Adios 7, Adidas, if you want to take note, the bolsters could be moved a bit more to the sides of the tongue and it would work a bit better. The tongue is also going quite high on the foot, so for people who don't like that, you know, tongue wrapping, or who already have experienced some rubbing because of the tongue going quite high, this is one of these tongues. But for me it was fine. The laces are very, you know, Adios Boston type of laces, although I think Adios 5, I didn't have it, but had thicker laces. This is very reminiscent of my Boston 5, or yeah, Boston 5 I guess, or 6. Very, very thin laces. I'm not a huge fan of these. The lacing was fine though, and you know, it's again not a major drawback, and I'll come back to that, but I cannot really find major drawbacks for this shoe, so maybe the laces can be one. In terms of heel, you have that very, you know, typical Adidas type of heel. The wrapping is excellent, no issues whatsoever. A bit of padding, not too much. The cup is spot on, like, you know, 10 out of 10 I'd say. So for me this was really good in the heel. Yeah, and the fit overall, I would tend to rate it on the wider, roomier side of things. I played a bit with the insoles. I removed the insert that was in there originally. It's very thin. I added something a little bit thicker and it worked very well. I went true to size, so you know, I think true to size is the way to go for this shoe, but be aware that it may run a bit roomier than what you may expect or what you experienced with previous iterations of this shoe. The midsole and the ride of the shoe, quite interestingly, you know, the Lightstrike compound is harder than the Lightstrike Pro, and so you would expect a hard type of landing in the heel and something more cushioned, bouncy, and with more energy return in the forefoot. And that's exactly what you get. You get a very, I wouldn't say hard or firm or harsh, but the landing in the heel, when I forced a bit some heel landing during my easy run that I did with the shoe. I did 2 runs with the shoe, one easy and one interval session. During the easy run at something like 5:30, 5:40 minutes per kilometer pace, so in that 8:30, 9 minutes per mile, I guess. Very slow, you know, just to see how the shoe worked. And the landing is not very pleasant in the heel, although you have that heel bevel, lateral, and that's a good thing. But you know, the bevel doesn't compensate for the hard Lightstrike compound, and it's probably not a shoe for heel strikers. It may work okay, for instance, for track intervals if you're a heel striker, or if you're a heel striker and you know that you move, your foot strike moves towards the front of the shoe when increasing the paces, and then maybe this shoe can work for you. Those are the 2 instances, either for heel strikers on the track or heel strikers that are having more of a forefoot strike at increased paces. Other than that, I'd say that, you know, midfoot strikes and forefoot type of foot strikes are probably the runners that will benefit the most out of this shoe. So that's for the heel, and then the forefoot. The dual layer Lightstrike Pro and Lightstrike is actually very enjoyable. Funny enough, I was expecting more, I think. There's nothing to write home about. It's not like breathtaking, but there's nothing to complain about either, and it works well, very well so even. And you know, it's very good when a shoe doesn't have any drawbacks, but at the same time, it's a bit embarrassing because you don't have any drawbacks. I don't have any like outstanding, fantastic points to mention either. It's just doing its job very well, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The combination is very interesting, and I'm looking forward to see the same combination with more stack height on the Boston 10, because then we may have something actually quite interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The sweet spot in terms of paces for me was around that 10k, 15k maybe, or 10 miles type of paces. Half marathon, why not? But I wouldn't pick this shoe for a half marathon, I'd say. So 10k, or I think, you know, the sweet spot for this shoe, at least the way I'm gonna use it, intervals on the track, or intervals in general, but even more so on the track because of the slightly lower stack heights and you know, the track being a bit softer. That's, I think, a good combination. I'm looking forward to trying the shoe on the track, but I can foresee it working quite well there. The outsole has that very nice looking pattern. You can see it here. Continental rubber, very traditional for Adidas shoes, but with those stripes, I think it's looking really nice. I don't know what you think, let me know in the comments, but I think it's looking really nice. I cannot give you any durability prediction for the outsole, first time within this pattern. So, you know, provided some little stones do not get there and do not mess up with the little stripes, I think the durability will be fine, even maybe very fine. But that's you know, to be determined with time, and depending on how you know, those little stones, those little rocks on the road, or even the road itself, the pavement, the concrete, work with those stripes. There, you know, you can move them slightly with your fingers, so I guess a little stone that gets caught in there can cause some damage. You have the very classic Adidas Y-shaped torsion system. Quite interestingly, this system is supposed to help with the stability of the shoe, but also with the independence of the heel part and the forefoot part of the shoe, and you can really see how the torsion works around that Y-shaped torsion system. Quite interestingly, and I think it makes total sense, the PIBA-based Lightstrike Pro midsole is actually located at the center of the Y-shaped torsion system, and I think you can really feel the transition between the two compounds, and the sweet spot being, you know, that place where you hit the ground here, midfoot, forefoot, and you can really feel how the two parts of the shoe, the heel and the forefoot, are independent. So, you know, nothing new with the torsion system from Adidas, but it works very well. The shoe actually runs lighter than the weight on the scale, and that's a good thing, because again, 260 grams in my size is a bit on the high end of the spectrum, but the shoe runs lighter than it is on the scale again. One last thing about the tongue, it's semi-gusseted, and I think that helps with the wrapping of the foot, despite again the fit being a bit roomier than you may expect. I think the gusseted tongue helps with that, and you get a very nice fit, very nice wrapping, and especially the heel, very, very good job. Overall, you know, I think it's a very pleasant shoe to run in, nothing to write home about, and definitely for people looking for those very bouncy, very explosive type of shoes, something softer, it's not for you. It's for you if you're looking for something for your intervals, you know, a modern version of a racing flat. That's what it is. It's a modern racing flat with, I think, the Lightstrike Pro being a great addition to the Adios, and the switch between Lightstrike being in the forefoot in the previous iterations, Boost in the heel, and here, you know, switching things a bit. This is a modern racing flat, and it works very well for this. At the price point, 130 euros, $130, it's a killer shoe. You won't find anything better in that category at that price point. As you have seen, I have not disclosed any of the run scribe metrics, despite the pod being on it. Why? Because I'm reserving that for the comparison video between the Adios, the Boston, the Adios Pro 2, and the Prime X, maybe, if I can get my hands on it. So this will come in a mega comparison video in between, you know, all the shoes of the new Adizero lineup. So that's the reason why you don't have the run scribe metrics just today. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, the review. I hope you enjoyed the drone footage. Let me know if you have questions in the comments. As always, I'm more than happy to see you there and chat with you there. In the meantime, you enjoy your run today, your ride if you're headed out on the bike. Go beyond your limits, and most importantly, guys, take care. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.